This is the Tuesday, January 12th, public hearing on the Town of Wolfeboro budget. And this is a virtual meeting, in-person session at the Great Hall in Wolfeboro. The Budget Committee meeting will be a hybrid access meeting, allowing for members and the public to access and participate in the meeting via in-person attendance at Wolfeboro Town Hall or via GoToMeeting through the following link: global-join.join/backslash/join-209-605. If attending in person at the Town Hall, please be advised that the face mask is strongly encouraged but not required, and that social distancing shall be practiced. The meeting room will be arranged for socially distanced seating, and areas will be disinfected both before and after the meeting. Further occupancy will be limited to the properly distanced seats available. Seating is first come, first served. Virtual meeting login instructions. Please join the meeting from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. https://global.gotomeeting.com/join/888-209-605, or dialing in using your phone 1-571-317-3122, and the access code is 888-209-605, followed by the pound sign. If you have any issues entering this meeting electronically using the aforementioned instructions, please email hendickson.leeann@gmail.com or call 603-486-2692. I do a roll call of all the members present and online. Tom Bell. Brian Black.
Here.
John Burt.
I'm here.
John Burt. Okay. Steve Johnson.
Here.
Bob Lohman.
Here.
Bob Mulholland.
Here.
Matt Plash.
Here.
Bob Tuffer.
I'm alone in a room in my house, and I'm here. Also, John, Tom Bell did ring in. I think he just wasn't fast enough on the trigger.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And,
That's right. I was on mute, so I am here, John.
thank you, Tom. And John McDonald is here. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Steve, if you could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Steve. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through the warrant articles that have a financial impact on the community. And what I'll do is I'll read the article, and then we'll take some input from the members in the community that have questions. The town manager will give a little presentation, a little discussion of what this means, and then the budget committee will vote on each article, whether to recommend it or not recommend. Okay, the first one is Article 6, which is the electric distribution conversion phase number 6, funding and distribution conversion from 4 kV to 12.47 kV. And it's North Main Street, and it's a bond. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,850,000 from the Electric Enterprise Fund for the purpose of constructing and converting the distribution system voltage from 4 kV to 12.47 kV on North Main Street from Forest Road north to the end of Circuit 2-1. Further, to authorize the issuance of $1,850,000 in bonds and notes for this project in accordance with RSA 33, Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate the rate of interest, maturity, and other terms for this purpose. This project shall be paid entirely by surplus funds of the Electric Enterprise Fund and will not result in any increase in tax rate or the electric rate.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Board of Selectmen will vote on this bond tomorrow night at their public hearing. This is to finalize the phase conversion work of this system. If there are any specific questions, Barry Muccio is here to be able to answer them.
Okay, does any member have any questions of Barry? Seeing none and hearing none.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
A question for Barry. Barry, can you just tell us where the end of Circuit 2-1 is?
Sorry, I was muted. Circuit 2-1 starts on Filterbed Road at our substation, and it actually ends at the end of North Main Street and does go into Tuftonboro a little bit. Just a short quarter of a mile or so.
Thank you, Barry.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone else from the committee have a question of Barry? Do you show any questions online? Anyone that wants to? No?
I don't see anyone, no.
Okay, it's indicated to me that there are no questions from the public. I don't see any questions here in the Great Hall. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to either recommend or not recommend this warrant article.
Motion to recommend.
And is there a second?
Second.
And who was the second? Excuse me? Bob? Okay. Okay, is there any further motion, or any further discussion on the motion to recommend this warrant article? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes. The motion passes unanimously to recommend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, this is entitled Article 7, which is the Rapid Infiltration Basin RIB site upgrade, state revolving fund parentheses. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,800,000 for the purpose of making upgrades to the Rapid Infiltration Basin RIB site to bring it into compliance with the state permit. Further, to authorize the issuance of $3,800,000 in bonds and notes for the project in accordance with RSA 33, Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate the rate of interest, maturity, and other terms for this purpose. Additionally, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for and accept grants or other funds that may reduce the amount to be prepaid and participate in the State Revolving Fund, SRF RSA 486.14, established for this purpose, and to allow the Board of Selectmen to expend such monies and become available from the federal and state government and pass any necessary vote relating thereto. Principal and interest payments for this bond will come from the lawsuit settlement. Therefore, this project will not result in an increase in the tax rate. Mr. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, we just spoke on this topic in our previous meeting. There is a slight increase due to some engineering estimates which have been received by Mr. Ford. The project is scheduled for $3.8 million. The bid opening is in a couple of weeks, and we're hopeful to get this project off the ground and bring this to completion in the near future. If you have any specific questions, Mr. Ford would be here to answer.
Any members of the Budget Committee have any questions concerning this warrant article, Article 7?
John?
Yes, John?
John, a couple of quick question. What sort of grants or help are we expecting from the state in the way of monies?
We're proposing, John, to do a state revolving loan, and under the original budget of $3.5 million, we were going to get a loan forgiveness of $500,000 approximately. So if the project goes up a little bit, we'll have the same percentage, a little higher. Again, we're hopeful when the bids come in, the project will be a little bit lower, but we should be looking about $500,000 in loan forgiveness.
Thank you very much, David. You know, I'm holding quite a lot of money for this project too.
That's where it's coming from. Those are the funds we're using to that will pay back that fund, that SRF loan right away.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from members of the Budget Committee? How about questions from the folks online?
I don't see any.
Okay, there's no indication of any questions.
Yep.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Yeah, Suzanne Ryan.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Question on the return of the loan. How secure is that? Have we got any writing that we will get the disbursement money?
Mr. Town Manager, can you answer that question?
So it's my understanding that Mr. Ford has had in-depth conversations with the state of New Hampshire. They have approved this regarding the state revolving fund. Dave, can you speak any more to this?
Yes, yeah. In fact, we are in communications. They're doing the environmental review, and pending a positive town vote in March, we should then get the formal approval. Then we'll meet all the criteria, and then we will get awarded the loan and the loan forgiveness, which is how we've explained it, and that's how it will be.
Any other questions,
follow up?
Suzanne? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Do we have something? Do we have something in writing to that effect?
Yes, we have emails, and we are listed on the state priority list. So if you go on the state list for the SRF funding, you see the project is there. The pre-application's been approved, and we're now in the environmental review process. So we got a lot of documentation if you'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Then answer your question, Suzanne.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see anybody else online?
I don't know.
Okay, there doesn't appear to be anyone else online with any questions, and there's no one present in the hall that has any questions. So this would be a roll call vote, and we need a motion to either recommend or not recommend this article.
Move to recommend.
And is there a second? Okay.
Second. John Burt.
Okay, roll call by, recommended by Bob Lohman, seconded by Bob Mulholland. I'm not going to read the article again. It's Article 7, Rapid Infiltration Basin OIB Site Upgrade, State Revolving Funds in parentheses. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes. That's 9-0 to recommend the warrant article. Okay, the next one is titled Article 9, Recreational Dock Repairs, and with bond in parentheses. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $850,000 for the purpose of reconstructing and upgrading the Wolfeboro Bay Recreational Finger Docks, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Further, to authorize the issuance of $850,000 in bonds and notes for this project in accordance with RSA 33 Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate the rate of interest, maturity, and other terms for this purpose. Mr. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, this is to get the repairs and upgrades done to our docks in Wolfeboro Bay. We listened to the guidance from the Budget Committee, and we broke this into two separate warrant articles. This warrant article is exclusive to the repairs and upgrades, and additionally, Finger Dock A is not listed in this because repairs to Finger Dock A are happening as we speak, based on previously approved money from the voters.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any questions from the Budget Committee members?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Is the wall repair along the Smith River included in this bond?
It is not. That would be a separate project that would be coming forward in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any Budget Committee member? Any questions from the public online?
John, Bob Tuffer here. I have a question.
Okay.
No, I have a statement.
Go ahead, Bob.
So the Docks Committee got together yesterday morning. Myself and Brian Black represent the Budget Committee on the Docks Committee. And the entire committee felt that this plan was put together very well. So I'd actually be speaking to this warrant article and the next one regarding this. So money on hand is being used to repair that first dock, Dock A, right now. The other dock repairs will be funded by that $850,000 bonded article, which is significantly less than the $1.5 million, which was originally proposed. And the docks extension plan was brought down considerably. The original plan was to extend all the docks and rearrange the Mount Washington dock so the Mount Washington would come straight in rather than on an angle. However, that plan a few years back came in around $700,000. In today's money, that $700,000 is probably worth closer to $1 million. So we felt that this scaled down version of the dock extension of docks B, C, D, and E was a much more reasonable approach, and does a little bit to ease the problem of overcrowding in Wolfeboro Bay during the summer months. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other questions from any member of the Budget Committee? Anyone online that would like to? I'm being told that there's no one online that has any questions, and I'm not seeing anyone in the public that has any questions. This would be a roll call vote.
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Mary DeVries speaking.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
Thank you. And I am speaking in a few roles as Executive Director of the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a member of the Wolfeboro Ad Hoc Dock Committee that Bob just referenced. And I also am a taxpayer in Wolfeboro. And I want to say that I'm very much in favor of this article. For one reason, it just wouldn't make sense to me that the town would repair Dock A and not continue to make the necessary repairs on the remaining docks. And the town has been very well thought out plans and taking care of its properties. And I think this should be included. Very much in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for serving on the Dock Committee and also sharing the Chamber of Commerce views on this warrant article. Any other one that you can see on there?
I don't see anyone, no.
Okay, it's been indicated to me that there's no one else that has any questions. So we'll.
I'd like to make a motion to that we accept this and approve it.
Okay. Is there a second to Brian's motion to recommend?
I'll second that, John Burt.
Was that a question, John?
No, I said I will second the motion.
Okay, thank you. So John Burt is the second. Okay, we'll be voting on a roll call vote for Article 9, recreational dock repairs with bond in parentheses. Tom Bell?
Aye.
Brian Black,
Yes.
John Burt,
Yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
and John McDonough votes yes. So it's 9-0 to recommend this warrant article.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a housekeeping issue. If you notice, we went from Article 7 to Article 9. I omitted Article 8, which is the asset management plan for wastewater treatment facility. I have that online now. If you like, I could read that as it is in order of number 8 as the bond.
Yes, please.
I will share this with on the screen. And I'll read Article 8, wastewater treatment plant, asset management plan, state revolving fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 for the purpose of developing an asset management program for the wastewater treatment plant that will qualify the town for federal and state funds, such funds to be raised by the issuance of bonds and notes not to exceed $30,000 under and in compliance with the provisions of RSA 33, Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate the rate of interest, maturity, and other terms for this purpose. Additionally, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for and accept grants or other funds that may reduce the amount to be repaid and participate in the State Revolving Fund, SRF RSA 486.14, established for the purpose, and to allow the Board of Selectmen to expend such monies as become available from the federal and state government and pass any necessary vote relating thereto. This project is subject to loan forgiveness as outlined by State Revolving Fund. Therefore, the project will not have any, will not result in any increase in the tax rate. This is basically so that we can continue working on asset management plans, and Dave Ford would be able to speak to any questions you may have.
That's correct, Jim. This may look familiar. This would be the fifth time we've done this, and it's kind of a weird thing because the money goes through the state revolving fund. So we have to enter into a loan agreement. We have to meet the criteria for the loan agreement. Once we complete the scope of work, they forgive the loan, and it becomes basically a $30,000 grant. This specifically is for the wastewater treatment plant. We've done the water plant. We've done the water distribution system. We've done the sewer collection system. We started the drainage system. We got about halfway through the drainage system. This one now is for the wastewater treatment plant, and it comes at the same time as we're doing our master plan. So it's a great time to do it, and hopefully this is, again, building the basis of the asset management plans that we've been talking about for many years.
Okay, any questions from the members of the Budget Committee concerning this?
Dave, how are these funds going to be spent? I mean, what are you going to use these funds for? Is this for getting folks about management plan, or help me out?
So what we're doing is we are inventorying every piece of equipment over $500. We got to figure out where it is on its life cycle, and then what it's going to cost to repair or replace it. And then we develop a plan and say, okay, this is what we did on the water system. If you remember the plan we presented, it kind of laid out a lot of work over a long period of time. So it helps us develop the business plan and try to determine whether or not we should replace an asset, or continue to maintain it so we can extend its useful life. So it basically brings in outside help to help us identify where the equipment is on its life cycle and what it's going to cost to repair or upgrade, or whether even eliminate it. Because that's the other thing we're looking at now, even on the water system. We have a lot of older equipment and things and say, okay, now time to abandon that and go in a different direction. So it kind of fits in with asset management with the master plan.
Thank you, David. Any other questions from the Budget Committee? And we got some questions from the public.
Yes. John?
Yes.
Suzanne Ryan?
Okay, go ahead, Suzanne.
Similar question. How secure? Yes, how secure are we that we expect receiving this grant? Do we have something in writing?
Similar, yes, we're on the list. We have something in writing from the state, and we're in the process of, again, submitting all the required documentation that goes with it. And the last piece will be, once we get the approval from the town on the vote, that'll be the last piece. And then we have the finished approval. So we have a scope of work to work from. So like we've done in the past, it is, at this point, I would say 95% guaranteed. And it's all on us. If we don't do something, that's the only way we'd lose it.
I have a follow-up question.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, I recognize that it has been spoken that this plant is on its last legs. I understand fully that the time has come to address the issue. My question is, what happens if this analysis for a management plan suggests that it can't be repaired? What options do we have in connection with keeping the spray fields and or the RIB going?
Excellent question, Suzanne. That's exactly what we're going to be answering that question. We have been focusing the last 14 years on the effluent disposal problem, which has been significant. And like we talked about earlier, this hopefully project will complete that. Possibilities there and get that cleared up. The facility itself, we've been putting the cap reserve money in, extending its useful life. The question is, how much further can we do that? Can we extend the useful life another 10 years and put off a major project? Or is there a way to slowly transition certain subsystems within the plant and upgrade them like we did? We've increased our biological treatment process, not by adding a lot of capital dollars, but by using a cyclic aeration, by turning blowers on and off and using the bugs to do that work. So we're going to continue to try to be innovative, look at systems that we might be able to save and reuse, or at least extend their useful life. Ultimately, if we decided that, you know what, we can't really fix it in 10 years, we need to build a new plant, that's what we're going to identify now. So we will look at not replacing major pieces, allowing the system to continue to degrade until we're ready for a major bond, possibly. Or do we continue what we're doing now, which is rebuilding systems and going piece by piece and trying to stay away from a bond and trying to fund it through the cap reserve fund, which is what we're doing right now. We're putting $125,000 a year. This year, a little bit more to make up for last year. But that's also, there's two options: continuing to fund in the repairs by a cap reserve fund, or potentially a bigger bond.
Thank you. Interesting.
Okay, any other questions from the public online?
I don't see any more, no.
Okay, and there's no questions from the public attending, so this would be a roll call vote. And this is article, it's been explained to me, number 8, Wastewater Treatment Asset Management Fund. Tom Bell? Oh, excuse me, I gotta have a motion, I'm sorry.
Move to recommend.
And a second?
Second. John Burt.
Okay. That'll be Bob Lohman. And Bob Mulholland is a second. Okay, Tom Bell?
Aye.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes. 9-0 to recommend. Okay, we'll get back on track. Article 10, Recreational Dock Extension. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 for the purpose of extending the Wolfeboro Bay Recreational Finger Docks, B, C, D, and E, Should this warrant article number 7 titled Recreational Docks Repairs fail, this article for the dock extension shall be null and void. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7, 6, and shall lapse on December 31st, 2026, or upon the completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Mr. Town Manager.
So, Mr. Chairman, this takes the dock extensions, removes it from the single warrant article, puts it as a standalone warrant article to come in front of the voters to ask if they want the dock extensions to be completed. Our anticipation is that the schedule would be, if these articles pass, that this dock extension work would be completed for the spring of 2022.
Okay, any questions from any member of the Budget Committee?
Yes, Chairman.
Go ahead, Bob.
In all the discussions about the dock extensions, the CIP committee had a recommendation that these dock extensions be done in 2024. Therefore, putting 12.6 cents on the tax rate for something and having the taxpayers pay for something that isn't going to happen for 3 years makes no sense to me.
Sure. So we met with the Ad hoc Docks Committee. We've discussed this. While we understand that the recommendation were to push or hold off on this project, we feel that the time right now is optimal to make this happen, get the project done, put it behind us, and let the voters weigh in on it.
Yeah, just a couple of quick points I want to make. This is not a project that I support, basically because if you take the 2 dock warrant articles that are on here, it's over $1 million. This is not an agreement for that. That's a tough sell on a good year. This isn't a good year. Secondly, something that hasn't been talked about through this whole process about talking about Dockside, the parking lot is a huge issue. It's coming. It's got to be fixed. That's an infrastructure issue. This is more of a want, not a need, so I can't support it.
Any other questions? Matt?
So one of the things that was raised, one of the issues that was raised when this was being discussed is that this was, extending these docks was going to create new jobs in Wolfeboro. Do we have a number on how many jobs are going to be created yet? Were we able to get a number on that?
That was a document produced by the EDC. I can't speak to that topic. I'm not sure if anybody from the EDC is present or not this evening. Can't answer that.
There was an estimate on how much revenue it would be brought in, and that estimate was based on a lot of guesswork, it seemed, when we went back and looked at the CIP minutes. But then there was discussion about it's going to create new jobs. But I couldn't get a number on how many jobs.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Any other questions from any member of the Budget Committee?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I concur with both Bobs that a committee that does a fantastic job, and I think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. So I would support both of their positions.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any folks online that would like to ask a question, have any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have Suzanne Ryan and Mary DeVries.
Okay, why don't Suzanne go first?
Okay, yes, thank you. Again, I would say, as a member of the CIP committee, we had detailed discussion on this, and one of my questions to David Ford was, given that we have 7 docks in Back Bay, have you taken any measure of the need of their repairs? And as of late, what work has been done to them, if any? And secondly, this is a want, not a need for the town, and that if a sign or signage was put up for the big boats, that they're welcome there, but the small boats are more than welcome to go under the bridge and use the 7 docks that are out in Back Bay. Those docks are not utilized. I am a boater, or have been a boater, and that is my observation. So I am not in favor of it, and when the deliberative session comes, I will be speaking opposed to this as a taxpayer, and as, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. And who else was out there that'd like to make some comments or had some questions?
Mary DeVries was on.
Mary DeVries?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm speaking both on behalf of the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce and also as a member of the town's Ad Hoc Dock Committee. The Ad Hoc Dock Committee voted unanimously in favor of this warrant article. I was a part of that vote. I definitely approach this as a need more than a want for the following. Both our visitors, absolutely yes, and they are bringing a revenue stream into our community. I agree that that dollar amount is vague at this point, but it's there. But also the residents of our community who are boaters and our island residents, those taxpayers who are island residents. And with all due respect to the CIP having as quote unquote a detailed discussion, the Wolfeboro Economic Development Committee also had a very detailed discussion, and the town's Ad Hoc Dock Committee had a very detailed discussion and agreed that it is very important, and if not now, when. And also, I just need to just note that my humble opinion is that the docks at Back Bay are very much in use. I too am a boater, but also I happen to work in that area. I'm there every day, and I make it a point to be aware of what's happening in that area, and they are very much used. I think we need more docks. I would not be in favor of just the town being in a position to say what size boat could go where. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mary. Any other questions?
I don't see any more.
Yep, John, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'd just like to weigh in. Obviously, I'm in a very unique position to receive a lot of feedback from the boating community. It goes without saying that I've heard on many, many occasions from my customers that they refuse to come into Wolfeboro, particularly on the weekends during the season, because it's so difficult to get dock space. This dock extension may not prevent people from waiting off dock, so to speak, to get in, but it's going to allow more people to dock their boats and utilize the services in town. I don't know. I hope that a diagram and details as to what the extension consists of and how many boats on average we expect to be able to facilitate if this were to pass. But I also feel strongly that there's, there's probably a financial advantage to completing this project at the same time that the dock repairs are being done. To do this down the road is certainly only going to add more to the cost of this. I agree that I don't agree that this is a want, strictly a want. I think there's a large benefit to the town to the town's economy, particularly during this COVID situation. The boat ownership has skyrocketed. So that just creates more demand on dock space. Wolfeboro is without a doubt a destination town for people that boat on the lake. A large majority of the boaters on the lake are based over in the Guilford, Laconia area. So when they go out in their boats, they want to make trips. And so they're coming over to our side of the lake or our town. And again, I've gotten feedback many times from customers that just express their frustration to getting into the Wolfeboro docks. So anything that we can do to help that, I think will be a benefit to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comments from the members of the Budget Committee?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
The fact remains it's 12.6 cents on the tax rate, and the taxpayers do not get any payback other than this illusory, maybe we'll have some new jobs, maybe we'll get some more revenue, maybe it's a benefit to the core businesses downtown, but the taxpayers get no benefit.
What did the taxpayers get from the addition to the library?
Okay, let's not go back and forth on stuff. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Brian. Yes, sir, you have someone on queue?
Brad Harriman.
Okay, go ahead, Brad.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to make a comment regarding the issue between need and want. I strongly believe this is a need for the town for regarding the parking issues we have. If we look at the downtown parking, I think everyone would agree that the need to, which was mentioned a little earlier, the Dockside Parking Lot to be redone there. We've always had a lot of comments about not losing parking spaces downtown and the need to create more parking. Well, this is really the same thing, just for the boating world instead, to bring them in by boat instead of by car. So I feel it should be treated the same as a need for parking spaces downtown. We are bringing the people into the town both ways by street parking for the vehicles and boat parking for the folks that wish to visit our town by watercraft. So I'm definitely in support of this article, and I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Harriman. Yes, sir. You have another?
Suzanne Ryan.
Suzanne?
Yes. Regarding Mr. Harriman's last remark, the majority of tourists come by car, not by boat. I think there could be a percentage factored out on that. The other question is, as a taxpayer, I'd feel more comfortable if this was a bonded warrant article. When you bond the previous question, roll this right into it, be less of an impact over time on the residents of the town. Of course, though, I'm sure that the board recognized that this is a simple majority versus a bonded warrant article, so much easier to get passed.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any other questions from the public?
Just real quick, John.
John.
I have sort of a puny question here of Mary Devine's. If this goes through, you say that you're going to have a lot more revenue for the merchants in town. You think at that time, then, that the merchants can pay the $2,500 fireworks that you had at the end of the year?
Mr. Chairman, I'm here and available. Could I please have clarification on the question?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Mary, you have in the operating budget a request for $2,500 for the taxpayers to pay your fireworks on the 31st of December. Do you think if this goes through, the Chamber of Commerce can afford to pay the $2,500?
So I respectfully do not see the connection to this warrant article and the question you have posed, but I will answer by saying that the Chamber of Commerce has not made a request for money to bring fireworks to Wolfeboro. We have not.
Thank you, Mary.
Related question here. I'll talk to Mary later on privately.
Okay, we're on the recreational dock extension. Let's try to focus on that. Are there any other questions concerning the recreational dock extension?
Just a quick comment.
I'm sorry, Bob, please.
Yeah, just a quick comment. There's so much being mentioned here about the economic good for Wolfeboro, but there's the Board of Selectmen, there's the Chamber, Economic Development Committee. Am I missing anybody? There's another one in there. Oh, the Dock Committee. They all say this is going to impact the town financially. We're going to have some kind of windfall, but none of those groups did a survey or a study to show what that was going to be. If you want that to happen, then put a survey out there and show that it works. But it's all talk, and we don't know that. I don't think anybody knows that factually.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Mary DeVries.
Go ahead, Mary, please.
Thank you very much. That just sparks a memory that going back to Mr. Harriman's comments, there was no survey done as far as in that way for the economic impact back when the town purchased what is now the Glendon Street parking lot. And there's a need for parking, And the voters voted in favor of it. And I think as a taxpayer also, I would appreciate the Budget Committee recommending this so that the voters can then have that opportunity to take a deeper look and decide for themselves.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else need to comment?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, and that is we have as a 2016 a Dockside Parking Lot capital reserve, and so far we've expended nothing. Now, will the parking lot be done after the dock repair? And the only reason I ask the question, they're all kind of tied in, and I would love some clarity on when that Dockside parking lot is going to be done or projected to be done.
So the answer to the Dockside parking lot question is we are not currently scheduled to do the parking lot this year. Going forward, we will be working to develop a plan as to what exactly we are going to do with the parking lot, and that'll be coming forward to you at the same time that we plan on doing the repairs to the seawall.
Thanks, Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, do we show any other questions out there?
I'm not. Mr. Black was here for a second, but he remuted, so I think, oh, he's back.
Who is that again?
Brian Black.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
No, I just want to point out when people are questioning about an economic benefit, just think, what would the economic effect be if the town had no vehicle parking? And that's all this is adding vehicle parking. It just happens to be boat vehicles. And so it's, can it be quantified? Those statistics are always suspect, but, it's more of a common sense issue to me. That the more people you're able to accommodate, the more the town benefits.
Thank you, Brian. Someone else?
Linda Murray.
Go ahead, Selectman Murray.
I just want to point out that in 2017, the taxpayers approved spending $25,000 on the engineering and design of the expansion to the dockside dock. that warrant article passed by 71%. We've been working on these docks and trying to figure out what the best way to improve this area. We spent $90,000 on changing the angle of the ramp. And so we are now looking at the docks. I think it makes sense. I think the voters paid $25,000 for us to design and engineer this, and I am hoping that they will support it.
Thank you, Selectman Murray.
Suzanne Ryan?
Suzanne, go ahead.
Yes. The question is to the town manager and board of selectmen. Would you consider rewording this question into a bonded question?
We discussed this at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. They had an option of a bond or a cash appropriation. They decided to go with a cash appropriation. And secondly, we do not have an ample amount of time to be able to provide noticing for a bond hearing.
Did that answer your question, Suzanne?
It does.
Thank you.
With a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
This isn't going to be very pleasant, but the Board of Selectmen sent the Budget Committee a letter. And the consistency of the letter was not relevant to this warrant article, but there was a sense or a feeling from the Board of Selectmen that there was not an impartiality amongst the board members. I would say tonight, I have seen evidence that there certainly is a board member who has a self-interest in seeing that these docks are expanded, and I would hope that they would abstain. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone else out there?
I don't see anyone else, Mr. Chairman.
And no one present has any more questions or has any questions from the public? No member has it? Okay, can I get a motion to recommend? Motion to recommend?
Motion not to recommend.
John, I'll make a motion to recommend this warrant article.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second? I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, this will be a roll call vote, and this is for Article 10, Recreational Docks Extension. Tom Bell.
Yes.
Brian Black.
I will vote yes.
John Burt.
No.
Steve Johnson.
No.
Bob Lohman.
No.
Bob Mulholland.
No.
Matt Plash.
No.
Bob Tuffer.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Count is 5-4. Not to recommend.
Could you repeat that, Mr. Chairman?
5-4, not to recommend. Well, there's a motion to recommend, and it didn't turn out that way.
So it got defeated 4-5.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Now on to the one I hope we can all agree on, and that's the operating budget, Article 11. Okay. Shall the town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote on the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $28,650,102. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $28,043,555, which is the same as last year's operating budget, with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13X and 16 to take up the issue of revised operating budget only. Okay, Mr. Town Manager, you ready to go through the slideshow here?
I am. I'm all set to go, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, for the past several months, the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee have been working on the 2021 operating budget. And the Selectmen Town Manager's budget guidelines were discretionary budget totals limited to a targeted 0 increase over the approved. I take it it's supposed to be the 2020 operating budget. Exceptions for contractual obligations, legal requirements, or the cost of collective bargaining agreements. Non-discretionary items include the cost of insurance, fuel, diesel fuel, and gasoline. The 2020 operating budget was $28,087,985. The department heads came back with $28,689,639. Town manager came back from his negotiations at $28,677,491. The Board of Selectmen presented us a budget of $28,743,754, and what we're recommending is a budget of $28,653,102. Now we'll go through the general sections of the budget. This is general government and the executive budget. There's an increase of $31,505. Town manager budget is an increase of $8,962. Zoning board budget is a decrease of $2,893. Planning board total budget is a decrease of $5,072. Town clerk is a decrease of $4,743. Finance department is an increase of $9,531. Assessing budget is up $22,893. Tax collector budget is an increase of $6,524. Personal administration, I guess this is a, I don't know if this is the first year we've done this, or
Yeah, this would be your health and dental insurance for the general fund.
What the town manager is doing now in the Board of Selectmen is they're taking the personal insurance out of each budget, and also the health insurance, and also the dental insurance, and putting it into one big budget. So this one for the departments that I just talked about is a total of, all the departments, $1,913,886, which is an increase of $136,198 over last year. You can see the increase in the health insurance again. Like everyone, the health insurance is going up. The dental insurance went down a little bit. Okay, miscellaneous operating expenses, $5,500. That's for basically for to support the selectmen with the town employees, flowers if there's a passing, and other things like that that make Wolfeboro the place it is to work here. Okay, now the planning board, they've got an increase of $605. Brewster building is a decrease of $8,548. Cemetery budget is a decrease of $2,729. Technology is an increase of $19,840. That's to better serve computers and keep those up and running and secure. Police department, public safety, an increase of $82,676. You can see where those increases are, mostly on benefits and the contract. Fire department is an increase of $113,303. You can see where the increases are. Payroll, the benefits, ambulance contract is up a little bit. Okay, codes, increase of $8,772. Emergency management, same as it was last year, $1,800. Public safety building, there's an increase of $197. Communications, that's up at the police department, the dispatchers and things like that. Increase of $10,152. Again, that's mostly benefits and payroll. Okay, DPW administration, we've got a decrease of $56,204. Highways and streets, we've got an increase of $2,788. Public Works Garage, a decrease of $16,694. Public Works Grounds and Maintenance, an increase of $26,901. Solid Waste increase of $63,508. Again, the majority of that is due to the tipping services of the folks that come and haul our trash or whatever away. Health office, an increase of $1,077. Animal control, increase of $18. Agencies, we have a decrease of $21,343. That is due to the senior meals. We usually fund those folks, and they didn't believe that they were going to be able to provide as good as this particular service due to the COVID. We were assured that, you know, we tried to give them the money, but they were very honest and said, no, we just can't take it right now. So I appreciate their honesty about not taking the money. We just wanted to make sure everyone had a good meal. Okay, welfare budget is the same, $63,200. Parks administration, we've got an increase of $14,970. Park maintenance, we've got a decrease of $3,085. Beaches, we've got a decrease of $2,750. Abenaki, decrease of $9,068. Hockey rink is unchanged. They're at $100,501. The program budgets over at the hockey rink is a decrease of $1,600. Community center, that's a decrease of $575. Now we'll go to the library. The library is an increase of $15,107. Patriotic purposes, that's unchanged, $6,830. Fireworks is $13,000, that's unchanged. Living museum budget is an increase of $3,198. Friends of the Clock House, they have a decrease of $2,000. Conservation Commission, an increase of $11,153. Economic Development, they've got an increase of $2,799. Our debt service, the total budget is $1,099,806 for a debt service increase of $239,543. Intercompany transfer, total budget of $579,890, and that's a decrease of $125,293. Capital outlay, $82,800, and that's an increase of $39,675. If you look just below that, you'll see that we're the library website, and we agreed for the department having a cardiac monitor, the most up-to-date machine to keep us alive, basically. And the fire department boat motors, they're going to be replacing 2 outboard motors that have long need to be due to be replaced. They can't get parts for the motors anymore, and they just can't be reliable. So that includes 2 outboard motors for the fireboat. Okay, proposed summary of the general fund increase. Overall increase in general fund operating budget is $619,415. Overall increase in the percentage basis is 4.35. Okay, if you look down, there's a couple things that we have really no control on. That's the salaries, that's the medical insurance, and that's the retirement. And that's a pretty good chunk of change. Then we've got our solid waste, which will kind of have to do what the hauler wants us to do, pay the fees that we have to pay. And then we've got the debt service that we can take care of, and the capital outlay. So total of $711,250 minus the intercompany of $125,293 for a total of $585,957. And we'll move on to the Warner Enterprise Fund. This year we've got a decrease of $137,046 from the original 21 request to the 2020 budget. We'll go to the Water Enterprise Fund funded by fees and other revenue. Water distribution, the total budget was $887,888, and this year we've got a decrease of $119,874. Water treatment plant, we've got an increase of $40,637. One enterprise fund funded by other fees and other revenue. Water capital projects total is $150,000. Now to the electric enterprise fund. Got an increase of $126,635. All the electric enterprise funds are paid by the users of our electricity, and it has no doesn't reflect anything on the taxes. And then we'll go to the electric administration budget, a decrease of $91,492. Distribution increase of $241,837. Generation, we have a decrease of $9,862. Electric department wants to buy a new pickup truck for $35,000. Again, that is no effect on the tax rate. It's all paid by the user of electricity. Okay, sewer enterprise fund, funded by fees and other revenue. We've got a decrease in the sewer collection of $57,046. Wastewater treatment, we have a decrease of $88,066. Pop Whalen budget, we have a decrease of $21,276. Again, that's an enterprise fund. Okay, proposed overall budget increase with capital outlay. Look over to the side, the general fund is up 4.347%. One enterprise fund is a decrease of 0.923. The electric enterprise fund is an increase of 1.266. Sewer enterprise fund is a decrease of 8.195. Pop Whalen fund is a decrease of 8.607. And then if you put everything together, all the funds and all together, it's an increase of 2.012, for a total budget increase of $565,117.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask the people that make those slides, along with that figure, what it increased, show the people of Wolfeboro what their budget is, so what that general thing in millions of dollars of what it is. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact of how big our budget is. I appreciate the fact that you've worked very hard to keep that expenditure down. But when I look at that as a 2% increase, I kind of yawn and say, gee, that's pretty good. But I think we forget that we have a huge multi-million-dollar budget. I'd like to see that added in there as well. Just a comment.
Jim, did you have that slide that showed if you had a $200,000 house, $400,000 house, $1 million house?
That will be at the end of the warrant article slide. It's in there.
Okay. Okay.
And that would be with all warrant articles and the operating budget passing.
Okay, can you just, what's that number again that we have zero control over? How much is that exact number? Do you know if is it 460,000 or something like that? Or?
So right off the top of my head, I can't give you that number, but as alluded to in the slide under the general fund budget, with insurance, retirement, and debt service, you're looking at about $440,000 just there, but I can get some more specifics for you for the deliberative session.
Okay, so we're up to, it was the 619,415, so that's a 160, about 180,000 that's actually we have control over. Everything else is pretty much locked into contracts and insurance rates and all that other stuff.
Correct.
And within that 180,000 is the defibrillator machine.
It includes the defibrillator, it includes the boat motors, it includes the library upgrades, it includes wage adjustments.
For the non-union folks.
For the non-union folks, correct.
So.
As well as, it would factor in the wage adjustments for the collective bargaining agreement who is under a contract at this time.
Okay. As you can see, we've tried to keep a tight budget and just get things that we really need this year because of we don't know what it's going to be like with the COVID and the next few months, and we understand that folks are going through tough times. We're all taxpayers, and we're all concerned about how we spend the money. We want to spend it wisely, and I think most of the things, I'm sure all of the things that we want that are in the budget are things that we really need or we're obligated to provide the employees due to contracts, agreements commitments that we made to the employees over the past several years. I guess now we'll open it up to some questions. If any folks have any questions. Who do you have on queue?
Suzanne Ryan.
Go ahead, Suzanne, please.
Yes. As we know, the operating budget is the budget that you put together to present to the public. What has happened from the last couple of years regarding the Pop Whalen budget is that the Board of Selectmen have chosen to administer their authority and move the administrative costs for Pop Whalen into another account. I think that we don't get a true picture of what it actually costs to operate that facility. And then now going forward, maybe I see a light at the end of the tunnel. because they're proposing a warrant article that would generate the funding for the maintenance of the building and its components to the taxpayers, but the function of operating the building would go to the enterprise fund. So my question would be, if those articles pass, will the administrative costs to run that building go back into where it should be now, into the enterprise fund?
Do you want to answer that, Mr. Town Manager?
Suzanne, just so that I'm understanding you clearly, are you talking about the administrative allocation?
Yes.
And your question is if the administrative allocation will continue or will it cease?
Will it go into the proper account under the enterprise fund for operating that building? I can live with, and I think it's proper, that a building that we have been given be maintained by the taxpayers, but the function and operation of what goes on inside of it should not be. I've heard no discussion on fees increasing to the participants that use the building, but you're asking us for a whole lot of money, and I'm looking for some direction as to if the proposed warrant articles pass, can I be hopeful and support that the administration to run those daily activities will be funded under the enterprise fund? Because the warrant article is written, sounds to me like, okay, we'll vote to take over the costs of the maintenance of the building.
So Suzanne, that is distinctly our hope. Myself, Casey, our new finance director, and Christine met last week to have a preliminary discussion on this. Our plans are to continue working going forward and do exactly what you're saying. Look at the enterprise fund, all-encompassing, including the rates, look at the debt service, and try to come back with a formula that makes that facility self-sustaining to the operation of an ice arena.
That answer your question, Suzanne?
Yes, it answers my question.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm hopeful that at the deliberative session that there could be some optimism, a projection of that happening so that the warrant articles for Pop Whalen would pass.
Thank you, Suzanne. We have that. We're working on it. We're going to try to get something for the deliberative session, but I'm not going to make any promises that it's going to be complete.
Thank you, Mr. Town
Thank
Manager.
you.
Do you show any other questions out there?
I do not see any other questions.
Okay, at this time, I'm being told there's no other questions from the public. Any questions from the members of the Budget Committee? And I'm not seeing any questions from the folks that are here at the public hearing. So can I get a motion to recommend the operating budget at $28,653,102?
Motion to recommend.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Bo Mulholland and Matt Flash. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. And again, it's Article 11, the operating budget. Tom Bell?
Aye.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt,
No.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
and John McDonough votes yes. The vote is 8-1 to recommend. Okay, let's move on from the operating budget.
So, Mr. Chairman, I believe the next one up is a change in the funding formula for the Pop Whalen Enterprise Fund. If you'd like to read it, that's fine, but there is no vote required on this.
There's no vote required by us? Okay, then we'll pass, because I don't think we've had time to look at this. Okay, now we're going to go to Article 13, which is the Pop Whalen Ice Arena, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $125,000 from the general taxation, not from the Pop Whalen Enterprise Funds, for the purpose of providing professional design services for roof, siding, insulation, dehumidification, electrical upgrades, and to develop a scope of work for repairs to the Pop Whalen Ice Arena. The appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7(6), and it shall lapse on December 31st, 2022, or upon the completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Okay, what can you tell us about this, Mr. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, as you recall, originally there was a bond proposal that came in front of you for $800,000 for repairs to the Pop Whalen Ice Arena. Upon investigating further and reaching out to the vendor to secure the pricing to ensure that we had the budget to do the job, the vendor said that the number is not solid. At that point, we learned that the number was based on 2019 estimates. Therefore, we felt it prudent to remove the warrant article, come forward with requesting professional design services so that we can get to the point where you have got a comprehensive scope of work for the project moving forward in the future, and a locked-in price with a vendor who's going to work with us through completion of the project.
Thank you. Any questions from the Budget Committee concerning the Pop Whalen Ice Arena, Article 13?
Yeah, I have a question. The $125,000, will that be, is that strictly for hiring a firm to figure out what it's going to cost to do it?
So that is to get us to the point where we have got construction grade drawings to be able to deliver a scope of work to complete a comprehensive project.
And the 125, is that something, is that a figure that you got from that firm, or is that your best guess? And is it likely to be less than that amount?
It will not be less than the 125. The estimate was provided by somebody who we are actually hoping to partner with, who did a lot of the legwork on the initial project in 2019.
Okay, any other questions from the Budget Committee?
Just some clarification.
Yes, sir.
So the result of this warrant article will be, if you could pardon my kindergarten language, numbers that we can hang our hat on?
That is absolutely correct. You know, when we called the vendor who provided us the quotes, had the conversation with them, they wouldn't lock in, and as a result, I had zero confidence in our ability to complete the project for the said price, and we immediately backed out of the bond and felt we needed to go this direction.
All right, and one further question as a follow-up. Beyond this, assuming that this passes and assuming that we get the numbers, where does that put us with the CIP committee? Is that number going to be available to us this year or possibly next year?
My hopes are that we can get something coming to you for the CIP process. It'll probably be late in the CIP process, but my hopes are that we can have something for the CIP process.
Thank you.
And one last question, Mr. Town Manager. If you're partnering with this person to develop a plan and a cost schedule, will that reflect favorably on the total number coming up after this appraisal?
I'm sorry, Steve, can you use the mic? I can't hear without the mic.
Huh?
The mic, I can't hear.
Can't hear you, okay. My question was, if we're partnering with this individual and he's going to give you a schedule as far as like the completion of what you want to do, by partnering with him, will that also have a favorable determination on the cost for the completion?
It may not have a favorable outcome on the cost of completion, but it may have a favorable outcome on potential future expansion, which was discussed originally in the CIP process.
Okay. I'll take.
Okay, do we have any questions from the public?
Suzanne Ryan.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yes, to the town manager, will they be calculating in any expansion costs into this proposal, in so much as the size of the dehumidification, electrical upgrade, sort of things, to incorporate that? Should there be an expansion, for which I was understanding that Back Bay Hockey was going to pay for?
I'm actively communicating with them at this time, Suzanne. The hopes are that we can get to a point where we have a partnership that will work for both entities, and that we're able to come forward with a comprehensive package that may actually include an expansion, as discussed previously in the CIP, but it's still premature at this point.
So, follow up,
Go ahead, Suzanne.
will he be submitting two sets of figures, one for the building as it currently exists, and one for what the cost would be if there's expansion?
Again, I think that's something that the partnership will work out, and we will determine if, if the electrical upgrades, what percentage of that is really on the town and what percentage of that falls on the other entity. We, again, are very, very early in this conversation. Our hopes are that we can have a very comprehensive plan toward the later end of CIP.
Well, I guess the question is, will $125,000 only be for the footprint that sits there today as to what's needed to upgrade the building?
That is correct.
Will it, oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions out?
I don't see any at this time.
Indication there's no other questions from the public. No questions here at the hall. So can I get a motion concerning Article 13, Pop Whale and Ice Arena?
Motion to recommend Article 13.
Motion to recommend by Bob Lohman. How about a second?
Second.
Second by Steve Johnson. Okay, this would be a roll call vote. Motion to recommend Article 13, Pop Whale and Ice Arena. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Flash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonough votes yes. 9-0 to recommend. Where's that from? Me. Oh. Okay, next one is Article 14, Police Commissioner stipend increase. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,100 for the purpose of increasing the police commissioner's stipend with $1,600 from the general fund operating budget and $1,500 of new monies from the general taxation. It is anticipated that for the next 5 years, the police commissioner's yearly stipend of $3,100 will be included in the general fund operating budget.
Mr. Chairman, this was approved by the Police Commission by a vote of 3-0. With that said, the article is fairly self-explanatory. They came to us in the budget process requesting an increase in the stipend. We felt they had to go in front of the voters in order to do that, and that's why you're seeing this in front of you in the form of a warrant article.
Okay, any questions from any member of the Budget Committee? Any questions from the public?
Suzanne Ryan.
Suzanne, go ahead.
Yes, what is the current stipend?
500. Suzanne Ryan, this is Chief Rondo. It's $500 per commissioner with an extra $100 a year for the chair.
Okay, thank you. And then there was some discussion at one of your meetings as to why this wasn't put in the operating budget. Is that something tied to a state law?
No, I think the reason we decided to, after some discussion, we thought it would be proper and appropriate to put it before the entire town electorate.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ellen.
Okay, any other questions from the public?
I do not see any others.
Okay, any questions from any Budget Committee member?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do we know how long their stipend rate has been at the level it's at?
This is Chairman Steve Wood. I came back on the commission in 14. It hasn't changed. It was my understanding it was the same several years before that as well. When I left the commission back in 1997, it was 300. So, but there has not been an increase in several years, but the workload has increased significantly.
Yes, substantially. Brian, this is Chief Rondo. In answer to your question, I don't know exactly when the last time the commissioners have received a increase. I do know originally, according to the original legislation, it was $250. That was back, I believe, in 1959 when the commission was enacted. At sometime after that, it was raised to the approximate level it is now. I've been here going on 25 years this coming June, and I don't ever remember in my 25 years the commission stipend ever increasing. You were in the police department, I think, in the mid to late 80s. I don't know if you recall what it was back then.
Chief, if I can just interrupt you, we've got a lot of stuff to go through. If you could just give us a short answer, and we don't really care about the whole history. If you've got something, please say it, but we've got a lot of stuff to do here.
Okay, that's
Thank
fine.
you. Okay, is there any other comments from anybody?
Yeah, I just have a question. So didn't go to the general operating fund because we wanted to put it before the voters? Is that the idea?
So, yes, point blank, it's appeared that historically, when this was created, it was created by an act of the legislature, and it's clearly stated in the RSA that I have, as town manager, have no responsibility over the fiduciary responsibility of the department. That falls under the police commission. Therefore, we felt it prudent that it go through the route of the voters deciding on it. Attorney Puffer weighed in on it and felt that this was the best way to go in asking for an increase in the stipend to the police commission.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any of the discussion with the budget committee or anyone out there in the public?
Another quick question.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, and probably for Chairman Wood, you know, in trying to justify this before the public, you talked about the workload increase. Is there any way that you can articulate more specifically as to how that workload has increased for the police commission over the years? Is it time spent, more meetings, so on and so forth?
Absolutely. This particular year in general, we've met a great deal with personnel moves and replenishments, filling vacancies and so forth. This commission has taken a more active role in something that probably should have done years back in true governing of the police department, as is stipulated in the act of legislation that formulated our specific commission. We're very active with budget oversight. We avail ourselves to the community. Back when I was on in the 90s, I did a couple of terms, and the workload was pretty much just a monthly meeting and an occasional hiring. It's not that way anymore. There's a lot more that goes on, a lot more that we're involved with. We work along in concert with the executive staff, planning for the future. We're not a reactive organization. We're proactive and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, if you will. But there is a lot that is going on. Some weeks it's phone calls back and forth. The chief, whatever, it happens quite frequently. The work has increased significantly.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Any other questions?
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Commissioner Woods, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, can I get a motion concerning the Article 14, Police Commissioner stipend increase?
I make that motion, Tom Bell.
Motion to recommend?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Matt Plash. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. This is Article 14, Police Commissioner stipend increase. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
No.
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes. Motion passes 7-2.
Thank you. Very nice.
Okay, Article 15, AFS-MC contract agreement. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the one-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Board of Selectmen and Local Number 534 of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFS-CME, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels. 2021 wages, $39,003. 2021 benefits, $8,468, for a total increase of $47,471. For further to raise and appropriate $47,471 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increases in wages and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. Estimated tax rate is 20 cents, 0.20 per thousand. What do you want to tell us about that, Mr. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a wage increase for the members of our ASME collective bargaining agreement. This represents approximately, I think it's 32 or 33 positions within town, wide array of longevity. Pretty much the collective bargaining agreement is status quo, and this is right in line with what the appropriation was for 2020 warrant, within $1,000. And this does factor in the fact that we have got a substantial increase in retirement system, which goes into effect in July.
Thank you. Any questions concerning the AFS-CME contract agreement? Anything from the public? Anything from the Budget Committee?
My only comment is this, John, Mr. Chairman. As I've said in years past, we have no part in the negotiation process. This year, particularly, the private sector has been taking it on the chin, and here the public sector is getting a raise. So I haven't supported it before. I especially won't support it this year.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Does anyone else have any comments? Nobody online or anything? Okay, can I get a motion concerning Article 15, AFS CME contract agreement?
Move to recommend Article 15.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, who was that, please?
John Burt.
John Burt, okay. Okay, this should be a roll call vote. Article 15, AFS CME contract agreement. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonald votes yes. 8-1 to recommend. Okay, Article 16, Fire Department ladder truck replacement. To see if the town votes to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,380,000 for the purchase of a new fire department aerial ladder truck. This purchase shall be paid for by transferring $900,000 from the existing fire truck and apparatus replacement capital reserve fund. Passage of this article will also be authorized funds in the amount of $480,000 from the town's unassigned fund balance to be used to pay the balance of this purchase. This expenditure will not result in an increase in the 2021 tax rate. Mr. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, as you're well aware, the ladder truck has failed its annual testing. It was scheduled for replacement in 2022. We're coming to you now asking for the replacement. We had an audit which came back that told us that our fund balance had increased by $1.2 million to just over $4 million. We felt this was a good utilization of those funds. We did explore the options of lease purchasing. We felt that the lease purchase would have put an undue burden on the voters by increasing the fire department's operating budget on an annual basis of over $100,000 for 3 to 5 years. So we feel that this is the right way to go to get this project put behind us at no cost to the voters. I believe the chief may be on to be able to answer any specific questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for anyone from the Budget Committee concerning Article 16, Any
Yeah, I
questions?
have a couple of things. I actually asked the town manager by email about how many times the ladder truck has been out. I also asked him about the number of months that it was out of commission due to an accident. I also tried to find out about the ISO, which is an insurance rating that the department gets on a number of different points within that scoring. And one of the scores is a ladder truck, which we have a 4, which is a plus. But there are many other components to that ISO rating. I also asked, because I wasn't ever sure, because it was brought up before, that we get a better insurance rate. And when I asked the question about what insurance rate is that, and if we drop 4 points, what does that reflect in that insurance rate, and is there a schedule? Come to find out there is no schedule. It's just a scoring that insurance companies use when people build buildings, mortgages, and so on within the town district. Mind you, there are many other components to that ISO rating. The chief was very nice in spelling out some of the things that he's working on improvement. Number one of them is on-call firefighters. Going back, going to catch my thoughts again, never did find out how many times the ladder truck was used in the life since we bought it. My question is, does the town really need to spend this kind of money on a vehicle that may or may not have a huge impact on an ISO rating that we really don't, I mean, it factors, but it really doesn't at the same time. The other question is, would we be better served to use this money to have a different set of vehicles other than one of them being a ladder truck? Another question is, not sure if this is the right time. For the presentation of the town manager, it seems in their light that it is, but why didn't we ever explore a used vehicle? We have a member of the budget committee who buys and sells used fire equipment, and why didn't we ever look at that possibility? And when I look at the RIB program, the success or failure of that is still in question. Do we really need to spend this kind of money at this point in time? So
Okay, thank you, Steve. Maybe you can ask a couple of Steve's questions. You've got 2 or 3 of them.
I'll hand this over to the chief, but I'll say, yes, we absolutely need a ladder truck. Number 2, do we need this type of ladder truck? You know, if we didn't have a couple of buildings in the downtown area, and we didn't have a hospital, and we didn't have a complex out toward Tufton Borough that's literally got 5-story buildings, and maybe we wouldn't need a truck to this device. But based on those facilities, the characteristics associated with those buildings, we do need this device. Relative to buying used apparatus, there's a difference between purchasing used apparatus for collection purposes versus operational purposes. And our truck is a perfect example of that. It failed testing. It's going to make somebody a great collection piece, but operationally it is not safe. With that said, I'll hand it over to the chief to follow up with any comments he may have.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. I just, I appreciate Steve's comments, and we did have a good conversation. A lot of work was done prior to me being the fire chief to ensure that the town had a low ISO rating. There are a number of components that go into developing what your rating is. And basically what the insurance service organization does is develops a catalog of data that insurance companies can use if they subscribe to it to determine through their actuarial approach to policies what the cost of insurance is going to be for commercial and residential properties. So there's a point system for having an aerial. It's got value, just like training has value, having a tanker has value, all of it adds up. And there's really, it's really a good assessment of your department. It's an inexpensive way to have your department assessed and to get a 4-4Y, which is what the town is, with 1 being the absolute best fire department in the world and 9 being the worst or no fire department. So with that, I also made the point that the insurance service organization isn't the only metric that we want to look at for why we would have a ladder truck. It's a tactical operational decision. And as Manager Pinio pointed out very adequately, the town has a number of multi-story and large area buildings, about 50 of them. And we also have a lot of residential dwellings in the community, some of them more than 1 story. And the aerial plays an important role in rescue, but it also plays an important role in supporting firefighter attacks on fires. It provides the ability for firefighters to get to 2nd stories and roofs, to provide ventilation, to let hot smoke and gas out of a building, allowing the other firefighters to get in and put the fire out. We don't have the kind of manpower to operate without an aerial device. It makes it very difficult and delays our attack sometimes, not having the aerial. And so I think from the standpoint of being the chief, in a town like this, we have 4,000 residences, millions of dollars worth of protected property. I think it's an essential piece. I think it's an essential piece of equipment.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the public?
I don't see any, no.
Okay. Any
John?
questions? Yes, John.
I have just a couple items here. Number 1, there's no questions that a fire, this truck I think is darn near 30 years old, and that's pretty long for any piece of equipment. My concern here is that one part of the warrant article says amount of $480,000 will come from the town's unassigned fund balance. Therefore, there's no tax impact. This is not quite true, because that $480,000, if it wasn't going to help buy the fire truck, could be used to offset taxes. So there is a hidden tax in this warrant. And I dislike this fact that just because they say, well, we got this extra money floating around, that it's not going to cost the town taxpayers any. It will, because that money could have been used to offset taxes in the future. Okay, that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, John.
Hey, John, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Steve.
Am I to understand that a capital reserve fund, this equipment, is it designated for ladder only, or can we use it for other equipment in the fire department?
So this dovetails right into the CIP process. Every year we appropriate $96,000. There's a schedule of replacement of equipment.
Right.
Okay, any other questions out there in the
I
public?
have just another comment. In particular, because I've been thinking about this a lot as far as ladders and about use. Number 1 is, another point. Have we ever thought about a shared ladder truck with other communities? That's number 1. I know, and I won't bring that up. The other thing is, a lot of the buildings by regulation now and or fire inspection building, they're sprinkled. So I just raised that as a sideline too. And also, we're not New York City, we're not Boston, and so on and so forth. So there's different scenarios for different populations and different structures. So.
And I might add different life cycles, because you go to those cities, you're going to be looking at a truck that may last 10 years.
Okay.
Bob Lohman, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a comment and a question for the chief. After we get through all of this with the beginning balance of the current capital reserve account, after it was funded for this year, with the addition of the upcoming warrant article we're going to talk about, the $196,000, if that passes, take out the purchase of the vehicle, take out the purchase of the fire truck, we're going to end up with $223,169 in that capital reserve account after all this is, all the dust settles. Do you feel comfortable, and maybe I'll ask the chief, do you feel comfortable, chief, with that level for another 12 months until another $196,000 comes your way?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions from the public? No more questions from the members? Let's get a motion to recommend from someone.
Motion to recommend Article 16.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Motion by Bob Lohman, section by Bob Mulholland. Okay, this is Article 16, Fire Department ladder truck replacement. This should be a roll call vote. Tom Bell?
No.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonald votes yes, 7-2 to recommend. Okay, let's move on. Article 17, Tower Road upgrades, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $650,000 for the purpose of upgrading town roads, sidewalks, and drainage systems. Passage of this article authorized $100,000 in funds be raised by general taxation. Further, authorized funds in the amount of $550,000 from the town's unassigned fund balance to be used to pay for these roads upgrades. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:76 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2022, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is our normal road upgrades. I believe this will include Stoneham Road, Goodrich, East Clark, and Clark Road. Again, we're utilizing a combination of fund balance and general taxation. Mr. Ford should be here to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody from the Budget Committee have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Usually accompanying documents have the schedule of roads that are going to be repaired. Is that going to be forthcoming?
That will be forthcoming in the presentation, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Town Manager, is this going to be bid?
I believe that Mr. Ford has got the bids out on part of this. Dave?
That's correct. We've already bid the bulk of this work, and so all the work here now is under, we'll award the contracts after town meeting. So, yeah, we did have an official bid on this one. We engineered section Stoneham Road, and then we also bid out overlay work on Clark Road. So, yep, we have good numbers on this one.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. Any questions from the public on Article 17? Okay,
Could you?
Who is that, please?
Suzanne Ryan.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yes, could you put the question up on the screen, please, Mr. Pinio?
Sorry, Suzanne. Thank you.
Okay. And then I have a general question.
Go ahead.
Typically in the past, we have preceded the dollar amount with a wording of not to exceed. We've deviated from that over the last few years. Is there any reason we can't add that wording as we go along? It's very reassuring to the taxpayers.
I have made a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to recommend.
Move to recommend Article 17.
Okay, Bob.
Second.
Second is Brian Black.
Yes.
Okay. This will be roll call vote, Article 17, Town Road Upgrades. Tom Bell,
Yes.
Brian Black,
Yes.
John Burt,
Absolutely, yes.
okay, John. Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
and John McDonough votes yes. 9-0 to recommend. Okay, Article 18, High and Park Street upgrades. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $881,000 for the purpose of upgrading High and Park Streets. Funds shall be utilized for engineering fees, stormwater drainage systems, the replacement of water and sewer mains, and rebuilding the roadways. $345,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing existing water mains which serve High and Park Streets. $536,000 from the general taxation shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing the existing sewer main in High Street, stormwater drainage systems, and rebuilding of High and Park Streets. This appropriation is not lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:76 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2026, or upon the completion of the project, whichever occurs first.
So this is a project that Mr. Ford has been trying to get done for a number of years. It's gotten to that point where he's ready to execute it, and it's a roadway and some infrastructure that is in desperate need of work. Any specific questions you may have relative to the article can be directed to Mr. Ford.
Okay,
Could we see that article on the screen here, please?
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none from the public online and here, can I get a motion to recommend Article 18, which is the High and Park Street upgrades?
So moved.
Thank you, John. In a second?
Second.
Bob Mulholland will be second. Okay, this will be roll call vote on Article 18, High and Park Street upgrades. Tom Bell.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yes.
John Burt.
Yes.
Steve Johnson.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Bob Mulholland.
Yes.
Matt Plash.
Yes.
Bob Tuffer.
Yes.
And John McDonough votes yes. 9-0 to recommend. Okay, Article 19, Railroad Avenue layout. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 for the purpose of laying out the gravel section of Railroad Avenue, installation of drainage, and the paving of the gravel section, including parking spaces and gravel parking spaces. This appropriation is not lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:76 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2022, or upon the completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Mr. Town Manager.
Yeah, so this is another section of town that we've been trying to get this project done. It's coming in front of us this year. Yes, I do owe you a map as to the specifics of it. That'll be ready for the deliberative session. With that said, any specifics can be directed to Mr. Ford.
Okay, does the Budget Committee have any questions, Mr. Ford? Anyone outside in the...
I don't have any. No.
Outside? No questions here? Okay, can I get a motion to... Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, could you put it up on the screen, please? And the question is, has it been surveyed or will it be surveyed?
So we've had survey done, and but we do need to do the layout process. So we still have additional survey cost to do the road layout process. And we've done preliminary engineering. We've got to finish the engineering and a drainage plan. So we have conceptual plans. We have to move those to final plans. And the intent is to get that done this year. So to do the road layout, engineering survey, and hopefully get it all done by the end of the year.
And follow up? Does it look like we're gonna have to negotiate for taking any land?
No, we have a verbal agreement with the Bean Family Trust, and we need their permission. We've been working with them over the years since we purchased their land, and the rest of the land we already own. The other abutter is a condominium association, and they're really looking forward to us fixing, because they have to live with the mess the gravel road is. And we're also working with the Railroad Museum group. Obviously, it's going to be coordinated with them, and the hope is that it'll all come together by the end of next year.
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, what percentage or what portion of the 100,000 is your group going to do this themselves, or is this going to be bid out to somebody?
This project here was planning on being done in-house, because we've already started it. There's not a lot left, and we're hoping that we'll bid the paving out, and we might try to get it piggybacking on with some other work, negotiate a lower price. It's not a big paving job, and it's a little fussy there, so we are going to manage that one in-house. But this one will not be bid, just the paving.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions out there? Anybody?
I don't see any, no.
Okay. Can I get a motion to recommend Article 19, Railroad Avenue layout?
Move to recommend.
Okay, that's Bob Loman. And a second?
Second.
Matt Flash. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Loman?
Yes.
Bob Holland?
Yes.
Matt Flash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes, 9-0. Okay, Article 20, sewer pump station, engineering. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 for the purpose of conducting preliminary engineering of Lane and Mill Street sewer pump stations. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 37:76 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2022 upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first.
So, Mr. Chairman, our sewer pump stations are in rough shape. They're in need of repair. This is step one in doing the preliminary engineering so that we can go forward with a plan to rehab, replace, do the work that needs to be done to these facilities going forward. Any specific questions can be directed to Mr. Ford.
Okay, does anyone from the Budget Committee have any questions for Article 20?
Mr. Ford, who does the preliminary engineering?
Good question. We, in December and November last year, we put out a request for qualifications, selected 4 firms to interview, and we ended up selecting one firm, HDR. They're based out of Manchester, and it's a nationally known company. Some new engineering, and we are going to have a rapid response here to this. Once this gets approved, I'll have a scope of work ready to be signed, which will be looking specifically at the Mill Street Pump Station and Lane Street Pump Station. Those are our 2 biggest stations that take basically 99% of our flow. They were built originally in the 1940s. They were upgraded in the 1990s. In 2006, it was estimated to be $3 million to replace both of them. We've put those off by doing as much maintenance, and we've, and trying to keep that asset management plan has identified these that need to be replaced. So our hope is to find the most efficient design, and by this time next year, we will have a plan showing the cost to replace the Lane Street when it was going to be the most priority, and then the Mill Street will have a plan for that one also. So this includes assessing everything, coming up with conceptual plans, a preliminary plan, and the final construction plans for Lane Street, and then a long-term plan for Mill Street.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Okay, any questions from anyone in the public? Anybody in queue?
I don't have any, no.
Okay, I guess there's no other further questions, so I need a motion to recommend Article 20, which is the sewer pump station engineering.
Motion recommend.
Okay,
Second.
Second. Okay, Bob Mulholland is first. And Bob Lohman will be the second. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Article 20, sewer pump station engineering. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black,
Yes.
John Burt,
Yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
and John McDonough votes yes, 9-0, I recommend. Okay, moving on, Article 21, library generator. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 for the purpose of purchasing and installing an emergency generator at the Wolfeboro Public Library. Further, to authorize the selectmen to accept grants, gifts, donations, or pledges for this purpose, which shall be used to reduce the amount to be expended from the general taxation. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7, 6, and general taxation, and shall lapse on December 31st, 2022, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Mr. Town Manager.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is the installation of a generator, which is critical to that facility now. The heating system in the facility is all electronic, or electric rather. If we lose power, we lose heat. If we lose heat, there's a potential of freeze up in the new building. Additionally, where it states accept grants, the librarian is actively working with the fire chief to pursue any state or federal grants which may be available to utilize the facility as a cooling or warming shelter. With that said, any questions specific to the project, you should be able to direct to Cindy, who I believe is here, and she'll be able to answer them for you.
Okay, do we have any questions from the Budget Committee?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Has a possibility been approached to, and I don't, maybe the fire chief can answer this one, do we currently have a standby generator for the fire department?
We do.
Is it a new one? Is it in reasonable service?
It's a fairly old generator. I'm not sure of the age, but it's been there a while.
Is there any thought to buying a generator size to service both buildings, seeing how they're contiguous?
I believe this was heavily discussed at CIP, and I think that the determination came back that it's not easily feasible to do that. I believe Chief Scansey may be here to speak to that topic.
Also, our librarians here, and she and I have had several conversations about this, that the current generator at the fire station would not be capable of serving both buildings because the library heat is electric.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the public?
I don't see any.
What's that?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Okay, can I get a motion to recommend Article 21, which is a library generator?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, you got Bob Lohman and Bob Mulholland, a second. Okay, roll call vote, Article 21, library generator. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonough votes yes, 8-1 to recommend. Okay, Article 22, police vehicle. To see if the town to vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $57,777 for the purchase of a new police vehicle and ancillary vehicle equipment. Said appropriation to be offset by $1,500, which represents a portion of accumulated revenue in the Special Police Detail Revolving Fund created by Article 23 in 2006, which has accumulated from special details in prior years and $55,577 from the general taxation. Town Manager?
So, Mr. Chairman, the Police Commission has voted on this 3-0. This is a request for a new cruiser so that the police department can outfit their fleet to the level that they are pursuing. With that said, I believe the Police Commission and the Police Department are online to be able to speak to the topic.
Commissioner Woods, you there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said in our prior meeting, that we've sent off to the town manager, the Board of Selectmen, and the Budget Committee our asset management plan that deals with our fleet management. We have determined that in order for the department to be operationally effective, to be able to mobilize our resources, our manpower resources mobily to scenes, to also give cruisers a rest in between so they're not running 24/7, 365 to extend the life, that we're going to get on a rotating cycle. Currently, we sit at 9 cruisers. If we get this one approved, this will bring us up to 10. We'll not be turning one in this year or next year, so that we return to where we were back in 2014 when we had 11 cruisers. Fortunately, as I mentioned before, we had the 4 Crown Victorias that suffered severe body rot, were irreparable, and were removed from the fleet. 3 from one within 1 year and 1 the following year. And we went from 11 to 7 basically overnight. And that has not been, a very good operational point that we've been in order to do the work that has to be done. Again, this is a policy level decision that we've made. So this is a warrant article that is going to be coming forward every year. Once we get to 11, it'll be 1 cruiser in, 1 cruiser out.
Chief, how many full-time guys do you have now? I mean, Commissioner, how many full-time guys sworn off?
14. The full staff is 14, which is inclusive of the chief and captain.
I'm sorry, so that's 14 with the chief and captain, and you were breaking up.
Yes, that is correct, John. 14.
Have you checked with any other communities to see what they run for vehicles, for cruises? I'm just trying to understand why we need so many cruisers.
There's 17. Okay. We had a contingent go to the Tilton Police Department, the new building that was just recently constructed. As you know, there's a committee formed for new public safety building, and they went over there to review that building. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I do know that the town of Tilton, which is similar to Wolfeboro, has 17 officers, sworn officers, and a fleet of 14 vehicles. 13 vehicles, excuse me.
Okay, just something to consider. I talked to a couple of, I talked to the police commissioner up there in Conway, and they've got 24 sworn officers, and they're using 12 cruisers. And then I did some research over in Wakefield, and they've got, I think, 12 full-time and 4 part-time, and they've got 7 cruisers. Alton, I think...
Your numbers are off, John.
Pardon me?
Your numbers are off.
My what's are off? My numbers?
Your numbers are off, John.
Okay, which ones, Chief?
So you want to double check your numbers in Wakefield. And in Conway, they have 24 sworn officers, and they're at 11 cruisers, and they're adding 2 this year. That's 13.
Okay, well, I got that from the police commissioner up there, so I was hoping it would be accurate.
I got it from the executive officer, John.
Okay, and then how about...
1,600 hours today.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, when we're talking about different towns, Wolfeboro is a very unique community. We don't have the roads that Conway, Alton, Wakefield, and I guess Tilton. If anything, Tilton has a larger base of businesses with the Tanger, or whatever it's called, mall, and all those other fast food places and restaurants and things like that we don't have. And we're just trying to be very cautious of the taxpayer money, and I just would hate to have the community get into a situation where we're buying a cruiser every year, and rather the community be in a situation where we're buying a cruiser because it's got 150,000 miles on it, and not just because we want to get up to 11.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you look at the asset management plan that was presented, and you look at the cost of maintaining older vehicles versus rotating in and out, you can get more at the end if you've got something to trade or to sell. But maintenance costs do get expensive when vehicles get older. You know, the department does everything that they can to maintain them as long as they can. But one thing that you need to understand, and you should understand as a former state trooper, that cruisers aren't just running, you know, to and from a scene. There's a significant amount of idle time. The vehicle may be 10 years old. It may have 6 million idling hours on it because the vehicle is continuously run. In order to get the most out of these cruisers, there may be a couple that are parked in the parking lot that have just come off a shift. The other thing is, every cruiser is assigned to somebody physically working at any given time, and other officers are coming in and they have to go out of town for training or for meetings or to court or anything like that. They need to grab a vehicle to go. They can grab one of the vehicles that's on standby, taking a break from another shift to do that. Again, it lends to the longevity of the fleet, keeping maintenance costs down, et cetera. Again, this is, when I came back on the commission in 14, the fleet was at 11. I know when I work in Plymouth, I go by the Wolfeboro PD quite frequently. I always see cruisers parked in the parking lot, but I understand how it works, so I don't sit there and go, well, gee, there's a lot of cruisers sitting idle. No, there are cruisers out on the road working. Those are ones that are basically taking a break for the time being and that are available if they need it. If you need to bring other officers in, if you have a serious situation, and we went over this in the last meeting, we had 2 significant incidents on the same day back last February, where we had an attempted homicide on off Pleasant Valley Road and an industrial accident also on Pleasant Valley Road. We did not have enough cruisers to get our personnel to the scene because we did have one cruiser, the K-9 officer, who was out of town headed for training. We had to pull him back. There was, I think, a cruiser down for maintenance. And these are all the things that you have to consider when you're trying to determine your operational effectiveness. And that's why we came up with the asset management plan to lay that all out. This is not a frivolous want, if you will. This is what we have determined that we need as a department to be operationally effective and to serve the community to the best of our ability. If we can't meet a call for service because we don't have the transportation, then we fail. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
Yeah, so right now we have 9 cruisers, and this one here will be the 10th, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
John, I have a few questions.
Go ahead, John.
1996.
Okay, Chief, I got a couple of questions. Number one, who has a vehicle assigned to him full time? You do?
I'm sorry, John, I didn't understand you.
You have a vehicle that is assigned to you full time, is that correct?
Assigned to full time?
Can somebody translate, please?
You have a vehicle that is assigned to you 100% of the time.
You talking to the chief? I don't have a vehicle assigned to me. I have my own vehicle. The chief has a vehicle, and the captain has a vehicle, the K-9 officer has a vehicle, and the detective. Those are the only 4 permanently assigned vehicles that we have. The captain's vehicle and the chief's vehicle are the oldest vehicles in the fleet.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Do you or any of those other 3 people use their vehicles to drive from home to the office and back?
I don't know what he's saying.
We can't hear you, John.
Okay, excuse me. Do you and the other 3 people that have vehicles full time use the vehicles from home to business, to the office and home.
Yes.
That is correct, because when things hit the fan, and they do, and they're called in the middle of the night, they respond direct to the scene. They don't come to the station to get a cruiser to go. The detective works, goes right out to work sometimes from his home to start his day.
Just a second. I asked you a question. Yes or no? That's all I asked.
I answered your question, John. I said yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I know that in Somersworth, the same situation is this there. Certain number of people have a full-time vehicle, but they don't drive them from home to the office. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Chief and Commissioner. You show anybody else that's got some?
No, I do not.
Nobody. Anyone else from the Budget Committee got any questions or comments or anything? Okay, I need a motion to recommend, a motion not to recommend.
Tom Bell, I recommend the motion.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Matt Platch, seconds.
I have a question.
We're in the voting mode. Go ahead.
Well, you've made a motion and seconded it, and are we cutting off questions now?
Well, go ahead. You just go ahead.
When I asked Commissioner Wood, I mean, if once you reach your goal, or if your intended goal of 11 cruisers, are you looking to have each officer assigned a cruiser?
No.
I mean, there's 14 officers, Brian. That wouldn't work, number one, but that would never be the intention to do that. We have a very strict policy with the use of cruisers, and that would not happen.
Is that, you understand, that's the perception that a lot of people have, is that's the goal, is that each officer is going to be assigned a cruiser.
No.
That's not the plan, Brian.
Okay.
I mean, if they do the math, we have 14 officers and we're only asking for 11 cruisers. Not everybody's going to have one. Right. The only people that have them are those that need to have them around the clock for their own availability. The K-9 officer can be called out at any time of the night to go do a search in town, or could be asked mutually to enable a neighboring community. The dog resides with the officer. They can go direct. As it has been, having been a former chief, the time is of the essence.
Brian, there's never been any plan discussed or even thought about to assign take-home cruisers to the entire complement of officers. That's not in my plans at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Are the 9 cruisers all in good shape right now?
If you look at the asset management plan, that's a relative question. We have 3 cruisers that are aging out, and we have some cruisers that are relatively new. Right now, if we stay with this asset management plan that I comprised, we should be able to get 10 years from our cruisers before we rotate them out of service.
So next year, are you rotating out a cruiser?
Negative, sir. Negative, sir. We will add next year. If we get this 10th cruiser next year, we will add or move to add the 11th. And once we get that, we will then start a process by which we rotate one in and we rotate one out.
Yes. Well, I'm going to go on record as saying I don't like 11 cruisers. I'll support this one this year, but then from that point on, I won't.
I have a major question here. What does this rotate in and rotate out mean? Does that mean we're going to be buying a cruiser every year?
Yes, sir.
That means purchasing one cruiser, Bob, each year and getting rid of one cruiser simultaneously. One will be purchased and then one will be sold. It'll never go over 11.
But we'll still be spending the numbers for a new cruiser.
Right.
There'll be less, Bob, that's true, but there'll be less money. The reason being is because we will have a standardized fleet, and the equipment that we're having to buy now, such as cages and consoles and light bars and so forth, which ends up jacking this up about $20,000 or so. We'll already own that equipment, so we'll just be spending the money for the cruiser on its face. We will already own the equipment.
I understand, but we'll still be spending something around $30,000 to $35,000 for cruisers.
That is indeed correct. That is indeed correct. Yes, sir.
I can't think of the company that I talked to down in Mass, but supposedly this is a fair price if you want to buy a cruiser. It's all set up. But they say, I think it's 2025, Ford's changing everything again, so you're going to have to buy all new stuff again. So, but this is a compatible price for what they would charge. They have the cruisers in stock, and you go in and pay the package, and it's all set to go. You don't have to wait. I think we're still waiting for last year's cruiser, aren't we, Chief?
No, we received that, John. Thank you. That was a good question. We received that a few months ago, back in November. It's fully outfitted now and in the rotation. Thank God.
Okay. Okay.
Just for Bob Lohman's benefit, I just let him know we've purchasing a cruiser each year has been a practice for as long as I can remember. They've done at least one cruiser. What kind of threw it off a little bit was when the department went to a lease program where they leased 3, I think, in 1 year, and that kind of skewed that that pattern, so to speak, of buying a cruiser every year. What has changed also is in the past, that's what we had done is. Or what had been done was the department would buy one cruiser and then the oldest one would get retired. So purchasing a cruiser every year has been in practice for quite a while.
Brian is indeed correct.
Okay, so now we've...
Thank you, Brian. Yeah.
We've got a motion to recommend Tom Bell initially and Matt Plash seconded. This would be a roll call vote. This is Article 22, Police Vehicle. Tom Bell.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yes.
John Burrett.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, thank you, John. Steve Johnson.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Bob Mulholland.
Yes.
Matt Plash.
Yes.
Bob Tuffer.
Yes.
John McDonough, yes. 8-1 to recommend. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chief. Okay, Commissioner. Well, you've only got another half a dozen or so.
I'll be right up.
Okay, Article 23, Water Resources Non-Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to establish a non-capital reserve fund pursuant to RSA 35:1-C for the purpose of watershed management plan, including engineering, design, permitting, best management practices for stormwater drainage and nutrient mitigation, grant matching, and education. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, to authorize the selectmen as agents to extend from this non-capital reserve fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is, as discussed previously, the language was cleared up to reflect a non-capital reserve fund pursuant to the appropriate RSA. It's to look at some watershed management plan, doing some engineering, design permitting, best management practices, so that we've tightened this down as far as what it can be used for. Any questions that you may have, you can probably direct toward Dave Ford.
Okay, any questions from the public?
I'm not showing any, no.
Any more questions from the, anybody from the Budget Committee?
Didn't we pass something similar to this as part of the budget?
So that was Wolfeboro Water's. That's a very specific scope of work, which they have budgeted for the year 2021. This is to establish a capital reserve fund so that we can pursue grant funding, so that opportunities which may come in front of us in the future, we may have funds to be able to do some work. Additionally, we anticipate this being an annual appropriation that will increase on an annual basis so that we can build the reserve so that we can attack some larger projects.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public?
No.
Seeing none, no questions from here. Can I get a motion to recommend? Motion to recommend from anyone? I'll make a motion to recommend. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, any further discussion?
My only comment is, seems to me there's enough in the general fund at different times when we look at what's left over at the end of the year. Certainly the selectmen and the town manager can do a good job of appropriating funds to these things as necessary without having this.
I'm going to vote for this because I think water is the most important thing we have going for us in our town. And I think anything we can do to protect it and make it better is a good thing. That's my statement. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. The motion is to recommend Article 24, Milfield extradition public.
Are there questions still open?
What's that?
Is the questioning still open?
Right now, it's not questioning, but it's a discussion where if you got something to say, go ahead and say it.
Discussion.
Yeah.
I'm, along with everybody else, just as concerned about the water quality because of the impact it has on Wolfeboro in general, and just because I like to swim in the water. I do have a problem with the amount that we're looking at. I really have a problem with that. I think that's totally excessive for what we're trying to do. And that's my only comment.
Okay.
John?
Any more comments? Matt?
I'd have a comment. I'm very concerned about water quality too. I think it's important, and last year there was a warrant article that addressed water quality, but it did so more specifically. It was for 2 specific grant projects that were listed. My concern with this one is it's a little loose, it's a little open-ended, it's not defined as well, and that gives me a lot of pause.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from anybody? Okay, Article 24, Milfold Extraction Public Expendable Trust. So roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
John, are we voting on Article 24 or Article 23?
Article 23.
Article 23.
23.
23, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my stuff messed up here. It's Article 23, Water Resources, Non-Capital Reserve Fund. Thank you for the catching on that, Brian. I appreciate it.
Well,
okay, do you have any other questions before we go? I'm just going to, Tom, your vote on that, please. Still yes?
Yes.
Okay, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
Okay, John Burrett?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Bob Lohman?
No.
Okay. Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
No?
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonald votes yes. 6-3.
The next article, Mr. Chairman, Article 24 is a non-money article. You do not need to vote on
that one. Article 25, Public Works Vehicles and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $180,000 to be placed in the existing capital Public Works Vehicles and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustee of the trust fund. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend the capital reserve fund. Estimated tax impact is 0.076. Okay?
So, Mr. Chairman, this is annual appropriation to the Capital Reserve Fund. It is an increase from $175,000 to $180,000 under the CIP plan and the replacement schedule. Public Works is anticipating the replacement of, I believe it's a one-ton pickup truck and a compactor machine at solid waste. Any specific questions you can direct to Mr. Ford.
Anybody have any questions concerning this one?
No, I make motion that we accept.
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so we've got a first and a second to motion to recommend. John Bird is first, and Bob Mulholland is second. Okay, any further discussion? Nobody? Seeing none, hearing none. This should be a roll call vote. Article 25, Public Works Vehicles and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lowen?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes. It's 9-0 to recommend. Okay, Bridge Falls Path Lighting Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in the existing Bridge Falls Path Lighting Capital Reserve Fund. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend this capital reserve fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a continued appropriation so that we can do some replacements of the lighting on the Bridge Falls Path. The hopes are this year, my plan is to be able to work with Christine and Barry Muccio from MED so that we can come forward in the CIP process next year with a comprehensive plan to get this project done. We really should be doing some work down there this summer to secure the electricity because there are some connections that are questionable at best. With that said, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions of the Budget Committee?
John Bird here. I have two. Number one, what is the expected cost of the project? And number two, how much do we have in that capital reserve at this time?
So, John, if I understand your question, how much do we currently have? We have $20,000 in the bank right now. We'll be asking for another 20 to get us to $40,000. We've got an estimate to secure the electricity to get it safe to the tune of about $50,000, and I believe we've got an estimate for replacement of the entire system that fluctuates between 80 and 120. The hopes are that we can get that locked down much tighter over this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other questions from Budget Committee members? Public, anybody?
No.
Nobody? Okay.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Did we skip over Article 26?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Make a motion we accept.
I don't know why, because I have Bridge Falls Path as my next one.
So I can give you the article if for some reason it didn't come across in your copy.
Didn't come? Okay.
But we
Yeah,
can
let's
do that
Bridge,
next.
let's get done with Bridge Falls Path. I just don't have a sheet for that. Okay, any other questions for the Bridge Falls Path Lighting Capital Reserve? We need a motion to recommend.
So moved.
Recommend.
Okay, Steve
I
Johnson.
made a motion.
Second. Is that you, John?
Yes.
Okay, John Burt, second. Okay, we're voting on Article 27, the Bridge Falls Path Lighting Capital Reserve Fund. This will be a roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Flash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonald votes yes. That's 9-0 to recommend. I just don't have the checkoff sheet. Oh, here I do. I get the next one right here. Thank you. Okay, we're going to jump back to Article 26. This would be the Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be placed in the existing Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, established for the purpose of making needed repairs and performing needed maintenance to the town's building facilities. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend this capital reserve fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, this has been a very successful program. Over the past few years, some of the work that's been completed through this, we've been able to paint the railroad station. We've been able to put a new roof on the Dockside restaurant. We've been able to paint the Clark complex. We've been able to put a new roof on the public safety building, the substation. We've gotten a lot of maintenance work completed through this. Some of the work that we anticipate coming forward over the next year would be potentially the railroad station. We would be potentially redecking that. We've got to do some dehumidification work in the basement of this building. We may have to relocate the compressor or air conditioning unit for the server room for this building. And we've had some slate tiles which have fallen off this building this winter that are going to need to be addressed over the summer. This has been extremely successful, and we plan on continuing to use this fund going forward.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the members?
Yeah, I have a question.
I have a question. Go ahead, Bob.
Question is, I'm looking at the capital reserve funds and the building maintenance fund 2016 is the date created, and according to what I'm looking at, it has a current balance of $156,000, and we're going to add another 75 to it. And it looks as though the expenditures for, I don't see any expenditures from this.
So, yeah,
missing something.
You wouldn't see any expenditures this year, or excuse me, in 2020 yet. We have made some expenditures. I'm not sure if Dave is still here or not, but Dave Ford, if you're here, can you tell me what the balance is on this account based on the expenditures we've done year to date for 2020?
Because this is through 10/31/2020, so you're talking about 2 months. So.
Right, but we also have to request those monies from the trustees, and we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
So
you think it's less than this?
As an answer to your question,
there you go.
$94,085 is the balance.
Is the balance now?
After the repairs of 2020.
So it's 94,000 now.
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to add another 75, and I guess my
Correct.
question is.
Did you have a question, Bob?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a question?
I was just clarifying and answering the question.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Anybody out? No questions in the public? Okay, a motion to recommend Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, Article 26.
So moved.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, this would be roll call vote to recommend Article 26, Building Maintenance Capital Reserve. Tom Bell? Tom Bell? Okay, Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonald, yes. Tom Bell, are you there? Okay, 7-1 to recommend. Abenaki Ski Area Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town to vote and raise appropriate the sum of $20,000 to replace the existing Abenaki Ski Area Capital Reserve Fund. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of the trust funds. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend the Capital Reserve Fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, every year Christine comes into CIP representing Parks and Rec with an asset management plan for the for the Abenaki ski area that lays out the expenses of equipment, and this is held steady for a number of years at $16,000. We're asking to increase that this year to $20,000. With that said, any questions you have, we'll try to answer.
Okay, any questions concerning Article 28 from the public?
I'm not showing any, no.
Do you have a question, Bob?
I just thought I'd give you guys the balance in the account.
Okay.
For whatever it's worth. Currently, 111,077.
Okay, thank you.
That was $110,000?
$111,000 and $111,077.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. What are the intents, what are we going to use this for at some point in the future?
Yeah.
Anybody know?
I'm not sure if Christine's here or not, but yeah, the asset management plan lays it out. It's used for a wide variety of things.
I am here.
Snowmaking, snow guns, to the grooming tractor, which is a very expensive piece of equipment. She was able to perform some high-end repairs last year, which hopefully got her about another 5 years out of that machine before she's going to have to replace it. Christine, did I hear you here to back that up?
Yes, that is correct. The reason why we're asking for the increase is based on what we have in the account and what we have looked at to replace the groomer. A used groomer could be in the ballpark of $90,000+. So we just didn't want to deflate that account, just because you will see there is a spreadsheet attached and it has by years of service. Things are in there. So part of the items that it helps pay for is there's a snowmobile, there's a four-wheeler that are all used for the Abenaki ski area. So all those are in there. Some of them, because it's used seasonally and we've been able to maintain the life of the vehicles and stuff, we have been able to extend. So that really is used as a guide. And if things are in good shape, we kind of push it. But just always keeping in mind that we do need to have that money available if the need comes up.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, one. Mr. Town Manager, could I press on you to maybe get that asset management plan and schedule of replacements and so forth to us so that we can,
certainly,
as a standard practice, so we can keep track of what we're doing like we do with all the other capital reserve accounts?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Article 28, Abenaki Ski Area Capital Reserve. I need a motion to recommend.
Move to recommend.
Second. First by Bob Lohman, second by Steve Johnson. This will be a roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black,
Yes.
John Burt,
Reluctant, yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes. 9-0 to recommend. Okay, Article 29, fire truck and apparatus replacement capital reserve. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $196,000 to be added to the existing fire truck and apparatus replacement capital reserve. Said fund should be under the custody of the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend this capital reserve fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is the annual appropriation to the Capital Reserve Fund. I believe after the replacement of the aerial ladder truck, the next replacement is in 2024 of a pumper. This appropriation will make it so that when we're at that point, we'll be able to replace that piece of equipment with money in the bank. The question becomes escalation, and the chief is keeping a close eye on that. Any specific questions you can direct toward him?
Okay, do anyone have any questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none.
Make a motion to recommend this.
Okay, John, thank you. Motion to
Second.
recommend. Second by Bob Mulholland. John Burt first. Okay, this will be roll call vote. Article 29, fire trucks and apparatus replacement capital reserve fund. Tom Bell,
Yes.
Brian Black,
Yes.
John Burt,
Yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Tuffer,
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes. 9-0, recommend. Okay, Article 30, dispatch equipment cap reserve fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to replace the existing dispatch equipment cap reserve fund for the purpose of replacement of the dispatch console or other related equipment installation and other related expenses. Passage of this article shall authorize $50,000 in funds to be raised by general taxation. Further authorize funds in the amount of $100,000 from the town's unassigned fund balance. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of the trust fund. Furthermore, the selectmen have been designated as agents to expend this capital reserve.
Oh, I'm looking at the slide going, wait a minute, you guys are wrong.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a warrant article that came to us a couple of years ago, establishing a capital reserve fund for the dispatch center. It's well documented that the console is in poor condition, and quite frankly, it's held together with a bunch of used parts. The hopes are that this console will last until the time frame where the public safety building is completed and the installation will be done simultaneous to that. But if not, we need to be prepared to formulate a replacement. With that said, any specific questions you have can be directed to Chief Rondo and the Police Commission, and this was approved by the Police Commission by a vote of 3-0.
How much money's in that fund, Bob, now? Do you have it?
154,782.
150?
154,782.
So this is kicking it ahead by 100,000 from last year?
So, yeah, this is making up for the lost ground of last year because we had cut it back. So this will get the program in a position where if we do have a catastrophic failure, we can do something worthwhile moving forward. And again, the chief should be able to speak to the specifics of it.
We've built,
The current plan in CIP is $352,000 for the cost of the console and...
And when is that due? When is that supposed to be due? Do you have figured out the year?
2022.
Okay. Any questions from people online?
I do not have any, no.
Any questions from any other member? Okay, Steve. Who's that, please?
John Bird, I have a question of the finance director. Has anybody been keeping track of this, the funds that we've had, some of the warrant articles on using the unassigned fund balance? Seems like we have a lot of money that we're going to get from the unassigned fund balance. Do we have enough money in that unassigned balance?
Yes, we have $4 million in the unassigned fund balance. We had an appropriate, and that was at the end of 2019. We had reduced that by $200,000 to pay for the reevaluation, so there is essentially $3.8 million, and we have ample money to be able to absorb the expenses associated with the use of unassigned fund balance projects.
How much are we looking at using out of the unassigned fund balance for these warrant articles?
I got to do some quick math because I don't have it right in front of me.
If I may, Town Manager, Jim, we're funding the ladder truck $480,000, and we're funding the roads $650,000, which is $1.1 million, leaving a balance of $2.677270, so almost $2.7 million, which is still 7.6% of fund balance.
Thank you.
Jim, how much money was left in 2020?
To this idea that people say,
How much money was left in 2020?
not going to cost us anything.
No.
But it does. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, any online questions? People that want to participate online?
Do not have any.
No? Okay. Can you need a motion to recommend?
Move to recommend Article 30.
And a second?
Second.
First is Bob Lohman, and second is Matt Flash. Okay, this will be roll call vote dealing with Article 30, Dispatch Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Flash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes, 9-0, recommend.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you, Chief, Commissioner. Okay, Article 31, transition to an appointed treasurer. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint a town treasurer in accordance with RSA 41:26-E, rather than electing a treasurer. Further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of compensating the elected treasurer to teach and appoint a treasurer of the current system of operation.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Burt simply wants to retire. He's done a fantastic job for the town. He's in here every day working away, and we want to be able to honor his wishes to be able to retire. We've consulted with John. We're consulting with him regularly on this process, and we'll be consulting with him as well when we do the process to look for a new treasurer. Additionally, I hope that we're able to use John in a backup role going forward, but we'll see what happens with that. Any specific questions I may be able to answer, or Mr. Burt may be able to answer.
Do you anticipate, is this going to be a 20-hour-week job, a 40-hour-week job, or disappointed?
John, I have a few comments here.
Hold on just a second, John, please.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that I want to get done with the job. are getting too damn old. So it's dangerous for the town to have somebody who's going not going to be here maybe the end of the year. But anyhow, it runs 50 to 60 hours a month.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yeah, so John's telling us, and he's saying that fairly consistently, that he's seen his hours increase to 60 hours a month. You know, and I believe what John's saying. I'm hoping that we may be able to find some more efficient ways to be able to account for our books going forward. But John's done a heck of a job for us.
Oh, I know, yes. Is there enough money in there now to do what you want to do after John leaves? When is he leaving?
Yeah, I think that this will allow us to get what we need to get done.
Okay, any questions from the public on that?
I just have a question. Came up at the meeting, and that is the difference between an elected treasurer and one that's appointed or working as far as check and balance.
So I mean, the RSAs protect the treasurer to be able to be work with a great level of autonomy. If Casey, if you're still on, can you address the topic of this as far as the checks and balances of an appointment versus a elected?
Yes, Jim. So the town treasurer is responsible for kind of making sure that the bank reconciliations are okay. And then the finance department would make sure that the general ledger books are okay. So the checks and balances are the treasurer's making sure the banks agree, and the town staff is making sure that the books agree to the treasurer. So that's your checks and balances.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online that has a question or anything?
I do not, no.
Okay, let's, how about a motion to either recommend? So move. Recommend.
Second.
Okay, Bob Lohman first, and Bob Mulholland second. This will be a roll call vote. Transition, Article number 31, transition to an appointed treasurer. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
John McDonough votes yes, 9-0 to recommend. Okay, Article 32, reorganization of the Director of Public Works. To see if the town to vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $67,546 for the purpose of hiring a new Director of Public Works. Funding shall represent 6 months of wages and benefits for this position, which shall become effective on or after July 1st, 2021. The new Director of Public Works shall oversee the administrative highway and streets, garage, solid waste, and buildings and grounds division. This position shall be funded through general taxation. Further, on or around July 1st, 2021, the current Director of Public Works and Director of Water and Sewer Utilities shall become the Director of Water and Sewer Utilities, and shall oversee the water treatment, water distribution, sewer treatment, and wastewater treatment plant divisions. In addition, the Director of Water and Sewer Utilities shall provide project management and engineering support to other town capital projects which may require project management, engineering, and permitting. This position is funded from Water and Sewer Utilities budget.
So, Mr. Chairman, we discussed this earlier. As you read in your earlier version of the warrant article, which was sent out in the email form, the 6-month caveat was not in there. However, the 6-month caveat, based on your response to me that afternoon, was placed into the warrant article at your recommendation, and I concur with that. Additionally, I mean, this we discussed at the 5 p.m. meeting. you know, we've got additional work that has to be done with this if this position is approved. Some of that work includes completing a job description. We're going through scribbling, highlighting now to create that. With that said, any questions you may have, I will try to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any questions from the public?
No, we do not.
We're all set on the Budget Committee? Any questions from the Budget Committee?
So,
Yeah, I did.
Who is that, please?
Suzanne Ryan.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah. Previously discussed was the increase in percentage wages for the union people, which typically is given to the non-union people. Will the head of the DPW be getting the, I believe it's a 4% increase?
That's, no. So the union personnel affiliated with AFSCME is receiving 4%. All other non-union staff are receiving 2%.
And so will the DPW head be getting that 2%?
The incumbent will be receiving 2%. That is correct.
The current DPW head
That is correct.
will be getting 2% increase?
That is correct.
You all set, Suzanne? Okay.
Until, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the public?
No.
Everyone else in the Budget Committee all set with this? Okay.
John, I have comments here.
Go ahead, John.
With this reorganization, you compare the total cost of what they call Director of Public Works and in the Water Sewer Department. There's a $116,000 increase in the supervisors in the two organizations compared to what we got right now in 2020. That's a 31% increase. I don't understand why you say that there must be a lot of hidden people that became supervisors in the organizations at the expense of being wage earners. But the fact is, it's a $116,000 increase in supervisors. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, John.
I have one question. Mr. Town Manager, were you going to make some changes here, or is this going to stand the way it's written?
It's pretty much standing the way it's written at this point because it is into DRA for their review.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to provide feedback. We know that. We're just waiting on what that is.
Well, I would, as I said in my first comment in our 5 o'clock meeting, that I'm not in favor of this. It's just, it seems, as I said there, the expression is disingenuous because of all the things that went into preparation of this. I think even if we vote against it, it'll be put into effect anyway, which is okay. We could certainly do that. But I just think the way that this was done, the way that it was handled, could have been done so much better.
I just want to be very clear and follow up to what you just said. Did you say that if this doesn't pass, it very may?
I'm sorry?
If this warrant article doesn't pass, that we very may well implement it anyways? Is that what you just said?
I think that as a Board of Selectmen and the Town Manager, you probably can.
I want to get involved in this. I'm sure that the Town Manager and the Boards of Selectmen will follow the will of the people. And if the people say, no, we don't want a Director of Public Works, I'm sure that's what they'll do. I feel confident, and I've known many of the selectmen for many years, and I've known our town manager of many years, half a dozen or so, and they're all respectable people, and will do certainly what the people want them to do.
I would echo that statement, Mr. Chairman. I thank you. And if the voters vote this down, you will not see me bringing this forward to fill the position, period.
Okay, can I get a, if we're all set on the questions, can I get a,
Move to recommend Article 32.
thank you. Anyone want to do that motion?
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll-
I'm sorry, is that someone on there?
Did you get a second?
I didn't even hear it first.
I did.
You are going to recommend it?
I
Okay,
moved
thank you. Okay, is there a second out there?
Yes. I second.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'd like to make a comment if you don't
Certainly,
mind.
go ahead, Brian.
I've been thinking a lot about this particular warrant article or the whole process. And I just remember back for years now, I mean, how many times have we questioned our Public Works Director about whether he is capable of completing a project or taking on a project. It's been an issue for years, whether it be the result of delays or overworked or, trying to keep too many balls in the air or whatnot. I like to think that this is designed, that this whole reorganization is designed to make the accomplishment of projects go more smoothly. The fact that the personnel in the Public Works Department hasn't increased in years, to me, says a lot when you compare that to the number and the scope of the projects that our Public Works Department has taken on. I mean, I don't like to add positions unnecessarily, and I certainly don't want to get into a situation where we're judging our current Public Works Director and taking on an opinion that he's going to be working less or have less responsibilities, and that he would not be entitled to the salary that's established currently. I think that's an insult to him. I certainly think he's, I don't think he's going to be working part-time by any means. He's just going to be focusing his attention where it's needed and where the town will benefit the most from his experience and talents. Again, I don't like to add positions unnecessarily, but I want to take personalities out of it and look at this as a means to run our Public Works Department more efficiently. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Bob?
I concur with Brian totally. The only thing I have to add on it is that it is obvious to me, after liaising with Dave early on in the budget process, that a succession plan was needed. And this is a succession plan in addition to the fact that we are beginning to focus the two people who are going to be doing their jobs in the proper directions. I think the town is going to benefit greatly from doing this reorganization, and it isn't going to cost us that much. I mean, I know nobody likes to add people. I understand that. But if you start looking at the costs and the benefits that are going to come out of this thing, it's going to pay for itself really quickly.
I guess the only thing that I would say is my concern is if this does pass, we've not adjusted the money to accommodate this change. And can you do something about Mr. Town Manager? Because it's going to go, you're going to have a different person working in a different department, which should be paid fully by his salary for the rest of the year when he switches over there. Will there be money left over in the administrative section towards, you see what I'm saying? It looks like this, who's over in this new director of water and sewer and wastewater, his salary, some of his salary used to be in administration of highway, but now he's going to be focusing, it says here, this position is funded from water and sewer utilities budgets.
So one of the things that occurred when the cuts that were made to the level of 67,546, those cuts in the general fund budget did not take into account that the funding for Mr. Ford's salary, the bulk of that had already been moved into the water and sewer fund.
Yeah, so, I think there's still $40,000 left in there.
So there's a significant, the bulk of Mr. Ford's salary is in that water and sewer account. Then this will bring it back to the same level that was asked at the operating budget. So it's essentially going to be a wash. So I don't see an issue relative to not having the funds, because the funds are there.
Yeah, okay, we can adjust it if it does pass next budget system. I just want to make sure that the money is all allocated to the proper places.
Well, and that goes right back to the conversation. Do we revisit the allocation method as recommended by this board so that supervisory salaries are in the administration budget of the town, and the administrative allocation in those departments are part of that factor?
Yeah. Okay, can I have a motion concerning Article 32, excuse me, reorganization of the Director of Public Works?
So moved. Bob Lohman.
Bob Lohman first? Okay, thank you, Brian. And Brian Black second. Been a long night. Okay.
Yes, it is.
For a long 8 weeks. Okay, this would be a roll call vote. Tom Bell? Okay, Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
I simply can't support it. I'll have to say no.
That's a no? No. Okay, Steve Johnson?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
No?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Matt Flash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
No.
Tom Bell, you out there? Tom Bell? And I vote no. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's and 3 yeses.
Yay!
I don't know where that was, but... Okay, that is on Article 32. And then the next couple of slides, for you folks that have been with us for the past 3.5 hours. It's the estimated town tax rate, operating budget, $4.63 per thousand, assessed value. All warrant articles would be 0.96 per thousand assessed valuation. The total tax impact would be $5.59 per thousand assessed valuation. Now, for example, again, this is just as it pertains to your tax rate for the town. It doesn't include the school district or the county rate, just town of Wolfeboro. For a home that valued $100,000, the current taxes would be $526 in 2020. The new taxes would be $559 for a $33 increase. $300,000 home, $1,578. 2021 proposed will be $1,677. $400,000 home, 2020 $2,104. 2021 $2,234. $500,000 home, $2,630 to $2,795. I take it these are 6 month rates?
Kathy, can you help me out with that? Is this a 6-month rate or is this a 12-month?
This would be the full year rate.
I don't think so. Either that or been paying a heck of a lot more taxes, and I don't think this is the right amount.
We'll double check it.
Yeah, thank you.
But,
Yeah.
and that's just the town portion.
Right, true.
Just the town portion.
So, yeah. so
Not
we could have-
school, not
the
county.
school could be
just the town.
$12. Okay, yeah, good. I stand corrected then. Thank you so much.
It's been a long night.
I know. Okay, just about done. I just want to remind folks that the deliberative session will be on February 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. It looks like it's going to be at the Kingswood Arts Center as of tonight. I want to thank the town manager for his help over the past 6 months. I want to thank the finance director, the board of selectmen, and all the department heads for putting this budget together. I know it's been a tough year, and we're all going to manage to get through it. I want to thank the guy up there on the camera for hanging with us for all these meetings. And I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
John?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Could we make sure that a budget book and the warrant articles and backup sheets are at the library for public inspection?
We're working on that, Suzanne. Thank you.
Okay, so probably next week or so, there'll be a budget book and the warrant articles will be available at the library, and they'll also be available here at the town hall.
Yeah, and we also intend on getting them online as well.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Okay, I got a motion to adjourn in a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this will be roll call vote. Tom Bell?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Matt Plash?
Yes.
Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
And John McDonough votes yes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.